Let me ask you something honestly. Have you ever sat down, made a proper budget, told yourself this month will be different, and then by the third week everything has already fallen apart? The numbers looked right on paper, the plan made sense, but somehow, somewhere, the money just disappeared again. If that sounds familiar, you are not alone, and more importantly, it is not your fault. Most budgets fail not because people are careless or irresponsible. They fail because the system itself is broken. Spreadsheets, apps, mental notes, they all share the same problem. The money sits in one place, all mixed together, and every time you look at your account, your brain cannot tell the difference between money that is free to spend and money that was already supposed to go somewhere else. So you spend, not out of laziness, but because the money was right there, looking available. Today, I want to share something different, something so simple it almost feels too basic to work. But the people who actually stick with it, their relationship with money changes completely. It's called the jar system. Let me tell you how I first heard about it. I had a friend, let's call him Ryan. Smart guy, decent salary, not someone who wasted money on obvious things. But every single month, without fail, he would reach the last week with almost nothing left. He tried budgeting apps. He tried writing everything down in a notebook. He tried setting reminders on his phone. Nothing stuck for more than a few weeks. One evening his uncle visited, a quiet, simple man who had retired comfortably without ever having a particularly high salary. Ryan, frustrated, asked him directly, "Uncle, I earn decent money. Where does it all go?" His uncle smiled and said, "Show me how your money lives." Ryan didn't understand the question. His uncle explained, "When your salary arrives, does it have a home? Does each portion of it know exactly where it belongs? Or does it all just sit together in one account, waiting for you to decide?" Ryan admitted, "It all just sits together." His uncle nodded slowly and said, "That is your real problem. Money without a home gets spent, always. It doesn't matter how disciplined you think you are. When everything is mixed together, your brain cannot protect one portion from another. You need to give every rupee a specific place to live the moment it arrives." That night, his uncle introduced him to the jar system. The idea is beautifully simple. When your salary comes in, you immediately divide it into separate containers, physical jars, envelopes, or separate accounts, whatever works for you. Each container has one job and one job only. And once the money goes into that container, it can only be used for that purpose only. Here's how the basic division works. The first jar is for necessities. This covers everything you genuinely need to survive and function: rent, groceries, electricity, transport, phone. This should take up roughly 50% of your income, not 55, not 60. If your necessities are eating more than half your income, that itself is the first problem to solve. The second jar is for your future self. This is your investment and savings portion, money you are setting aside to grow. 10 to 20% goes here, depending on where you are in life. And here's the critical rule. This jar is filled first before you decide anything else, not what is left over at the end of the month, first. Because if you wait until the end to save, there will never be anything left. The third jar is for education. 5 to 10% goes toward making yourself more valuable. Books, courses, skills, anything that builds your knowledge and capacity to earn. Most people skip this jar entirely, but the people who grow fastest financially never stop investing in their own mind. The fourth jar is for long-term spending, things that don't come every month but will definitely come. Eid shopping, a family event, a trip, a new phone when yours finally stops working. 10% here prevents those moments from ever destroying your monthly plan again. The fifth jar is for giving. 5% set aside for charity, helping family, or contributing somewhere meaningful. This one surprises people, but those who keep this jar consistently report something strange, a sense of abundance that actually makes the rest of the system easier to maintain. When you give intentionally, you stop feeling like money is always running out. The sixth jar is purely for enjoyment. 5 to 10% for guilt-free spending. Dinner with friends, something you've been wanting, a small treat. This jar is what makes the whole system sustainable, because a budget with no room for joy is a budget you will quit within a month. Now let's go back to Ryan. He went home that night and found 6 containers in his kitchen, old jars actually, the kind his mother kept rice in. He labeled each one with a small piece of tape and a marker. The next salary day, he sat down and physically divided his cash. It took him 15 minutes. The first month felt strange. He kept wanting to dip into one jar to cover something from another category, but he held the boundary. When the enjoyment jar was empty, entertainment stopped, not because he was punishing himself, but because the rule was simply the rule. Something unexpected happened by the end of that month. For the first time in years, Ryan reached the last week and still had money in his necessities jar. His future jar was untouched. He had even added a small amount to his education jar and bought a book he had been putting off for months. He told me, "It wasn't that I suddenly had more money. My salary was exactly the same, but for the first time, my money knew where it lived, and that changed everything." This is the deeper truth behind the jar system. It is not really about jars, it's about intention. Most people spend reactively. Money comes in, needs arise, and money goes out without any real direction. The jar system forces you to be intentional before the spending begins, not after. And here's what makes it different from every app and spreadsheet. It is physical and immediate. When you can see and feel that a jar is getting low, your behavior changes naturally. There is no notification you can ignore. There is no app you can close. The jar is simply empty or it is not. Now, does the exact percentage matter? Not perfectly. Life is not perfectly divided, but the principle matters completely. Give every portion of your money a home the moment it arrives. Protect each home from the others, and never touch tomorrow's money for today's wants. Start this month. You do not need to wait for a fresh start, a new year, or a bigger salary. Take whatever comes in next and divide it, even imperfectly, even with rough numbers. The habit of dividing is worth 10 times more than the perfect spreadsheet you never actually use. If this made something click for you, write in the comments, "My money now has a home." Like the video, subscribe, and turn on the bell, because next time we go even deeper into how to make that future jar actually grow into something that changes your life.